video will teach you the basic steps of icing a cake. Before you begin, you will need the following supplies: a 9x13 size cake already baked and frozen for at least an hour prior, about a pound of icing, we use buttercream in this tutorial, and a metal spatula. You can find a link in the video description for similar cake and icing recipes. You will also need to have a freezer and hot water handy. First, drop 2 scoops, approximately 1 cup total, of icing onto the top of the cake. With a light amount of pressure, begin pushing the icing out across the top, making sure the icing covers the edges. This is going to be your base coat, also known as a crumb coat. It's okay if you can see the cake beneath. After every stroke or two, scrape the icing off your spatula to keep it clean. After the top is fairly smooth, add a bit of icing to one side near the top edge and lightly push the spatula back and forth to smooth the icing across the entire side. Try to keep the spatula as straight as possible while you're smoothing back and forth. You'll want to have the icing hang slightly over the edge on each end. Now repeat this step for the other 3 sides. Remember to avoid pressing down too hard on the spatula. After all the sides are covered, begin to push the excess icing from the top edges inward, smoothing across the top at an angle until even. Repeat this around the entire top of the cake until there is no excess icing around the edges. Now that your crumb coat is finished, place the cake in a freezer for at least 10 minutes. This will make it easier to ice the cake without getting crumbs in the icing. While your cake is in the freezer, fill up a cup of hot water. This will help you keep your spatula clean as you ice the final layer. Once the icing is dry to the touch, take it out of the freezer. Make sure your spatula is rinsed clean. Add 2 scoops of icing, larger than the previous scoops, about 1.5 cups, to the top and begin smoothing across the top, leaving a slightly thicker layer than the crumb coat. If you're having trouble smoothing it out, dip the spatula in the cup of hot water. Once the top is covered, begin icing the sides like before, adding extra icing when needed. Smooth the icing across each side, past the ends again, making sure your spatula is as straight as possible. Remember to keep your spatula clean by scraping excess icing between strokes. You can do it! Don't be discouraged if the first cake you ice doesn't turn out how you would like. Practice makes perfect. It will probably take about 5 or 6 tries before you become a cake icing boss. Once each side is covered, push the excess icing from each corner and smooth it out. Now you can begin smoothing the excess icing from each of the top edges across the top using a light amount of pressure. Lightly push the spatula across the top of the cake until the icing is smooth. Remember, if you're having trouble smoothing it out, dunk the spatula in the cup of hot water before each stroke. Voila! You did it! You are on your way to becoming a cake icing boss.